Hi, I'm Crystal, and I'm here with Flip Through Friday, hosted by Gwen, the Trash Witch. What I'm flipping through today is a baby book that I made. So I made the cover, as well as all of the pages, and I made this using a collection kit from Echo Park that I picked up in last year's warehouse sale. So they're certainly economical. The collection kits are 12 sheets of double-sided cardstock and 1 sheet of cardstock stickers. So putting the book together was very simple. I have a short video tutorial at the end if you would like to see that process. And I also have all of the measurements and instructions at my blog, which is, excuse me, papercraftcrystal.com. This collection kit, Little Explorer, has a zoo or jungle theme. I don't know yet if this is a boy or a girl, so I tried to keep it pretty gender neutral. And I think the autumnal colors will be suitable for this baby due in the autumn. I did put in a couple of tucks and pockets, but I didn't go too crazy with it. I just want this to be an option for the parents to put baby photos. Now, when I've made grandparent baby books in the past, I've only made one, and I think that's probably sufficient for grandparents. But for new parents, of course, there are 2 parents and multiple sets of grandparents, so I always like to make more than one book. So in this case, I've got 2 exactly the same that I made, the cover and everything. And they are very similar but not identical, using these 2 collection kits. Since I needed 2 sheets of patterned cardstock for the covers are quite different, but the insides are pretty much the same. So hopefully these autumn colors and the zoo theme will be suitable. And I've left room on the cover to put the baby's name once I know what that is. So I had a lot of fun putting this together, and it was really a very easy process. And hopefully the new parents will enjoy having a pretty place to put some baby photos once the baby arrives. Now, once I got these 2 books finished, I was very happy with them, but I had quite a few pieces left over from the collection kits. So my pile of leftovers was extensive, but nothing very big. I didn't have enough to make another one of these books. So I went ahead and made some paper bag books. So the older child had a paper bag book. I'll link to that at the end. But I thought that this was a nice throwback to that original paper bag book. And I just used the heck out of this kit. So these pages that are cardstock on one side and craft on the other, they had cut-aparts on the back that I didn't think were suitable. And I even cut up the strips of cardstock that were left into edge trim. And I didn't even have enough of the collection kit yet to make the tags. I had to use plain paper for that because there just was nothing left when I got done. So I think I made a pretty good use of those 2 collection kits. And given the prices at those warehouse sales, it was very economical. And I got to use a lot of my supplies and dies and punches and stuff like that. So 1 book each for each of the parents, 1 book each for each set of grandparents, or, a brag book to take to work. Hopefully they will find that useful. At the very end, I had just nothing left of this kit. So I will show you the one little bit that I had left that I've kept as a color reference so that once the baby's name is known, I can go ahead and make the name to go on the cover of the books. I expect I'll give the books at the baby shower, so I won't still have them in my possession for a color reference to make the name. But with this one little scrap that I had left at the very, very end, I'll just hang on to that, so I'll have that information available. Hopefully they don't pick a name that's too terribly long. I guess I can always go down a size in the letter dies if I have to. But I think this makes a pretty nice set of baby books. So I appreciate you joining me for the flip through. And if you want to stick around for 2.5 minutes at the end, I will show you the process for making those larger books. So my color reference was just this one last little piece that I couldn't work into the books. I didn't think a safari word, and particularly as large as this one is, fit on any of the pages. So like I said, the measurements and instructions are at my blog. This was inspired by a commercial kit. So I started out by joining together 2 pieces of patterned cardstock to make the cover. And once I've got those 2 pieces of paper joined, I just put a little chipboard from a discarded box out of the recycling bin to stiffen the cover. So this is the part that comes in the commercial kit along with the pages. And I think they do a good job with the commercial kit. Like I said, I almost bought one, but the price just put me off because for $40 you get the kits, but I would still have had to buy the pattern paper. So for the price of a discarded box, I reproduced what they were going to sell me. So I cut the edges to reduce the bulk and then just fold up the edges to cover that chipboard that I'm using for the cover. So the cardstock is pretty thick, and this is definitely the time to embrace your paperweights if you've got some lying around. But I just folded up the edges of that cardstock and let it dry for a second, so I made sure that I got a nice tight seal. I did cut right at the spine and on the corners, and I think that that is an important step to getting a nice tight seal. I did go ahead and make gutter covers, so I'm going to put down one side and let that dry. And while that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and make the pages. So the commercial kit came with 6x6 pages. I cut mine 6.5 by 6.5. So it gives me a little bit of a border around the pattern paper. I don't have to be careful to match it up. And then I've just scored that 1/2 inch at one edge of the paper so that I've got a hinge to attach the page to the spine. Now that one side of the gutter cover is dry, I'm going to glue down the other side. Then I'm going to cover the inside front and back covers with some matching paper. And then we will attach the hinge of the pages to complete the book. So all I'm doing is attaching that scored flap, and I'm spacing out the pages at each flap so it makes a nice thick book so there's room for 3D objects. And I'm just checking as I attach each page to make sure that I've got it lined up evenly and I don't have a page hanging out of the book. So a very simple process, makes a very sturdy book, and I enjoyed the process. I hope you enjoyed watching it. I really appreciate your time today, and thank you for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful crafty day.